It's all good.
So with this deck, because it's so big, what I've been doing is I just pull a third out, and I shuffle the third, the 2/3. They're just my handmade deck. Gotta have something to make it until Scott does something, right? So I've been shuffling these maybe 3 times and then pulling half of the deck out.
Starting over?
Yes, because it's 162 cards. So it's a little bit bigger than even my hand can. And these are a little bit stiff because they're poster board. So that's what I've been doing, and then when I get them all back together, then I rifle them a few times, right? And then So basically, what you're going to do is you're going to put 9 points out, okay? This is an example, right? And then I show you what they mean. So it's just 3 rows of 3, but it doesn't matter which order you put them in. It doesn't really matter, as long as you do 3 rows of 3.
And don't flip them around or put them upside. You just put them out the way they are.
Yeah. With the cards, it's easier than with the tiles because I just flip them out. You don't know what they are when you're getting ready to flip them over.
Right.
So that's how that works. So it doesn't really matter how you shuffle them. You could spread them out and pull them out if you want. It doesn't really matter to me. But you're just putting 3 rows of 3 because what it represents is these 5 spots and then the 4 corners. Okay?
Mark has such baby face.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So it's Amber, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Or Autumn?
Amber.
Okay.
Just like the color.
And last name?
Doster, D-O-S-T-E-R.
D-O-S-T-E-R?
Yeah.
Okay. What is this, 21st?
Yep.
Is it? It's all day long? So this deck represents the full element deck and the
Ultimate Expansion Deck.
It's a combination of decks. But it makes sense. So it's fun. Yeah, I guess not. I know, right? All these boxes.
Yeah, just shuffling them around.
Yes. So yeah, I have to have my own deck to work with.
Well, see, he makes up a deck, and then we know what they look like, and then I make the deck up to put them and send them over to Hong Kong.
And then I use them, of course, and see how they're,
See how they work.
Well, see, it's just like this deck. If you look in this deck, there's 2 blacks and 2 whites. Now, about the time I sent this off, he figured out that one of those blacks and one of those whites needed to be different words. So we're missing the wrong two names in here. It's got the right number of cards.
Well, it is kind of a revelatory tool, right? So it's even taught me how to use it, so to speak. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean by it was mixed.
So, all right.
What time is it?
Is 3:40. We even have to make special sheets.
Yeah, right. Well, because a lot of this it's read on at least 10 different levels.
Yeah.
It's not just this tool isn't just about reading the card itself only.
See, that's the big difference between this and like tarot reading. Is not just, oh yeah, well you got a death and you got a and you're good here and you're this.
Yeah.
So because you don't see any. I mean, well, not the word ones, but these other ones all mean something in a normal tarot deck. If you go through your deck, he could tell you what each of those cards is.
Yes.
Well, except for the orange ones, because that's part of our new deck.
Yeah.
And also the difference between these is they have pretty much one meaning. As for if a normal tarot deck, if you pull out Nine of Pentacles upside down, that's a complete different meaning from Nine of Pentacles upside right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, I already knew that. The positioning of the cards made a difference, which is part of why he said don't sit there and try and turn the cards.
Yeah, exactly right. So this is how this tool works. So it's got, these are all element symbols. So if you were using a tarot deck, I mean these elements, the tarot deck is broke up into elements,
Right.
really. So this is the element of fire, represents your mind, and it represents the principle of wisdom. Okay, it's that part of you that's choosing the right or choosing wrong, wise choice, unwise choice. Okay. So this represents what's going on in your mind. So your thoughts are on about being pure in heart. That's what's going on there. Okay? So, make sense?
Yeah.
So this is the element of earth. It represents your body, and it represents the principle of prosperity. Okay? So prosperity in the sense of health, abundance, flourishing. Okay? So, and it helps explain the sets of 9. So if you think about numbers, okay, the first set of 9 is easy to determine, 1 through 9. The second set of 9 is a 10 through 18. Okay, a 10 is a 1, 18 is a 9. That's the second set of 9. The third set of 9 is 19 through 27. Okay, that's how numbers are on the number line. They're all sets of 9, forever and ever. And the middle of the number line is 0. Okay, so when it pertains to the word prosperity, so the first set of 9 has to do with what's going on within the person. The second set of 9 has to do with the world around them or their environment, okay? And the third set of 9 has to do with eternal laws or principles, okay? So it's the same way with prosperity. If you're prospering inside first, then you can prosper in the world around you. And then a person, prospers in an eternal nature or in an eternal manner, okay? So this is this symbol right here, okay? That's, there's 4 of them. So this is about action, putting something into action, okay? And this symbol, this element, is the element of life. It's represented by this line right here. It includes the whole thing. So it represents the soul. So the word soul represents everything about you, okay, as a whole. So this is about putting your soul into action. That's what's going on. That's the thing that's affecting your body at this time. Okay? And so the soul is connected to understanding. Okay? So if your soul's balanced, and if you have understanding about life, because that's all those things are connected there. This is the element of life, represents your soul, and the principle of understanding. When those things are right, then you're in action. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the element of air. It represents your spirit and the principle of truth. Okay? So, this is the balance point for that. It's the word generous. Connected to giving. Those 2 words are connected to each other. Okay? So that's the balance point for your spirit. It's that part of you that's always discerning between truth and error. It's also the part of you that's connected to your conscience.
Okay.
Okay? Make sense? So this is the element of water, represents your emotions and the principle of peace. Okay? So this card represents this spot right here. It's about your emotions and the heart of you being rightly connected. Okay?
Okay.
Or the principle of peace and the principle of understanding. Okay? Or the heart, you see how that's connected?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Makes sense to you? So that's the focus that your emotions are on. That's the balance point. Having your emotions rightly connected to the heart of you so that they respond correctly. So the heart of the matter is this right here. Hunger and thirst in relationship to hungering and thirsting for what's right. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that's what's going on in the heart of you. That's the central point of everything right now that's going on. Okay? So it's the balance point for this element. So this represents the element of light. And it represents your heart. Okay? And then, like I said, it represents the word understood, because life is understood in the heart. Okay?
Okay.
Make sense? So that's what's going on there. So between your mind and your body, it's at this point. That's what this represents. It's the connection point between mind and body. So the 21 is a 3. So like I was talking about sets of 9, this is about the third set of 9.
Okay.
So the number 3 is about being sure. Okay? So if you look at the numbers, they're a language in and of themselves. Okay? The number 1 is about being aligned with something. Okay? So if this is what's right, this line right here, the number 1 is about aligning yourself up with it. Okay? Also represents your pathway in life. Okay? The number 2 is about becoming whole. Okay? 2 things becoming 1. Okay? And then that makes a person sure in their life. So that's how a person gets to the number 3. And if you go in backwards, the number 5 is about being centered. So when a person's centered, they're not leaning to the understanding of the world or to the understanding of somebody else. They're connected to the voice of truth we all have. Each and every one of us has a voice that speaks to us that always tells the truth.
Right.
The question is, do we listen to it, right? So if a person is centered, connected to that voice of truth, it sets them on a solid foundation, which is the number 4, and makes them sure in their life. So that helps you understand what the number 3 is all about. And that's how a person gets there. So this is about being sure in your understanding of eternal truths or eternal laws. Those are the things that happen whether we believe in them or not, whether we know about them or not. Okay? So that's the connection point between mind and body. Make sense to you? Okay? So the number 8 is about attaining. Okay? So it's connected with this set of numbers right here. The number 7 is about the day of triumph, or the day of accomplishment. So if you were in war and you set out for peace, the number 8 is the day you attained it. The number 7 is the day the war ended. If you were building something, like let's say a house, so 7 would represent the day you accomplished the work. You set the tools down. It's a day of rest now. The number 8 is the day you moved into the house. The number 9 is about now you have the fulfillment and contentment of what you set out to accomplish. Okay? So the number 8's in the middle of that idea. This is about attaining an understanding of life. Because this is the element of life. It represents your soul. Okay? And it represents the word understand. Okay? Because life is about understanding. So this circle, the soul, and the heart of you are very closely connected. Because one is the word understand, and the other is the word understood. And they're both wrapped up into understanding.
Right.
Life is about understanding. So this is about attaining an understanding of your life. And that's the connection point between your mind and your emotions. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So between your spirit and your body, it's about the principle or the element of equity. So it's part of the definition of justice. On one side you have fair and just, and on the other side you have equity. It's connected to justice. Okay? So that's the element, that's the balance point between your spirit and your body. Okay? And between your spirit and your emotions, it's about the number 6. So the number 6 is about things that are correct and complete. So the number 6, hey kitty, represents where all of the element symbols come from.
Okay.
It's 2 triangles, correct and complete. And when they're all put together, it makes life. So there's the element of fire, according, the way you're looking at it, and the element of air with the line remaining. The element of water,
and the element of earth with the line remaining. So it's the symbol of the number 6, and it represents things that are correct and complete. So if you have a puzzle, you have to have all the pieces, and they have to all be in the right spot, or you can't see the picture in its full capacity. So this is about being correct and complete in your soul, in your life. So when your life and your soul are balanced, you're correct and complete. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And that's that connection point there. So that's just the first way to look at all that. So any thoughts about all that so far?
That actually kind of makes sense.
Okay. So now I'm going to look at the sum total of all the numbers that show up. So for you, you have these 3 numbers that show up. Okay? So the sum total of those numbers is an 8. Okay? Because a 17 is an 8. Okay? So in this position, it has to do with the present. Your energy's on the present. And very specifically, this is the energy, the present energy that you're on, having a pure heart, or something about that.
Okay, so how did you come up with the 17 and the 8?
Well, 3 plus 8 is 11, plus 6 is 17.
Okay,
So
because this was a 3. That's okay. I got it now.
I'm doing fast math.
It-
Instead of
it-
writing
well,
a 2
And
and a 1.
it works the other way anyways, because if you
Yeah.
add 12, 26, 6 and 2 is 8. Same thing.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
didn't matter which way you did it.
Because I was looking at that as 386,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm going,
Well, still,
Wait.
the number 386 is still an 8. It doesn't matter how you write it. All numbers, they never change. It's such an interesting thing about the pattern of numbers. They all come in sets of 9.
right.
So the interesting thing about numbers, on the number line between 9 and, let's say this was a 10, there's no even number. So if you think about the numbers between 1 and 9, the things that hold those numbers together are the even numbers. But between the next set of 9 and the next set of 9, there's no even number. So that's why the number line, the entire number line, the only place where 2 sets of 9 are connected is where the 0 is. And it literally represents all the numbers that there are. Because no matter how far out you go, still sets of 9. So even if we said it was 386, it still equals 8. You know what I mean? It just doesn't really matter how you write them down. Or we could have wrote 2,100 and, 86, and it still would have been an 8. So it's just about a pattern. So when you look at numbers, okay, the pattern of the numbers when you're thinking about things in past, present, or future. Okay? So if you look at this number pad, when you connect the numbers this way, these numbers represent past, present, and future. So that's why it represents the present. And so then if I look at that number pad, so now if I look at this tool completely on a different level, that's the number 8. Your present energy is about this spot right here. Would you say that that's true?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like an interesting tool. So it's reading all of those 9 points now in a completely different way, and it still comes out right. So the most important numbers are the 3, the 6, and the 8. Because there's no duplicate of numbers. If there would have been like 2 3s or whatever, then that would have been the most important number. So in one respect, it's about, so all of this is about you being sure in your life, the number 3, you being correct and complete in your life, and you being able to attain in your life. Okay? And if you wanted to go at a deeper level, this is what you're trying to be sure about. You're trying to be sure about being correct and complete in your life. The correct and complete thing you want in your life is that your heart and your emotions are rightly connected. That your emotions respond to truth. Because here's the pattern. Truth and understanding have a great impact upon your emotions and your body.
Right.
So when you discern the truth correctly and you understand it correctly, your emotions are always right. They're not responding to some lie or some misunderstanding. Same thing your body does. This represents the pathway. Everybody has a pathway to walk, but it's represented by truth and understanding and choices, which is about wisdom. And so when your emotions aren't right, it blocks the pathway. If your body isn't right, it blocks the pathway. When the pathway's right, the emotions and the body are in harmony with it. They're not blocking it. You see what I mean?
Mhm.
So there's that symbolism that's represented inside the tool. Okay? If you look at these two elements are pointing away from each other. They represent the infinite line. And those two elements represent the finite line. So when you think about your life, it's your emotions and your body that always create the block from you getting from point A to point, this eternal line. That's just the way it always is. So there's all these layers of symbolism in the tool. And the beauty of the tool is that there's no conflict. If you have an energy tool that has conflict in it, then how am I supposed to remove the conflict in somebody else if the tool has conflict? You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't make any sense, right? So, and like the number 8. So the focus about attaining is still. So your present energy, this is like showing up twice now. This is an important spot, okay? So in terms of up right side up or upside down, for you, everything's right side up. Every last one of these are in the right position. The words don't have any direction, but these are all in the upright position. So, in terms of energy coming in or energy going out, so if you have too much coming in and not enough going out, you've got pressure, frustration, right?
Mhm.
Overload. Same thing if it's the opposite. If you have too much going out and not enough coming in, then you're drained. But for you, it's about letting more energy out because you've got too much coming in. You feel in a frustration, or you're not getting done what you want to get done or need to get done, or whatever the case may be. So that's just focuses on pointing that out, and that's where the change takes place. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So now if I just look at all of the elements and nothing else. So see, Scott, we got to fix this tool. Fix our worksheet, right? You know what I mean? It's like, anyway, if Scott would just quit changing things, everything would be great. Right? So the element that's most important to you is the element of life.
I don't say my soul. The soul.
Yes, which represents your soul and represents the word understand. Okay? So that's the most important element that needs to come in. Okay? Make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So then I look at the sum total of all those points, and they all end up over here, because then they have another meaning. So it's about attaining things, right? And then it's about the meaning of that, right?
As soon as I can get up.
So in the center of you, the heart of you that nobody can see, it's about attaining and understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that point is right here in the middle, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So all of these cards end up in the middle for the soul. So in that spot, the part of you that's affected between mind, body, spirit, emotion, center, all that, it's the heart of you. So that's the correction point. All of this is about the heart of you, okay? Not about your mind or your emotions or, that kind of a thing. So then, now I take all of these and put them where they actually appear on the tool. And for you, it seems like they all appear in the middle. See, this goes here. The words don't change their position, okay? They all stay where they were laid. So each one of these ends up in the middle.
Now, why does this one end up in the middle?
Well, because the first two sets of 9 are on the outside edge, okay? 1 through 18, okay? And even though these are points, because the way that it's numbered, At this intersection right here, it makes a perfect 20-point star, okay? If you went from point to point. Just like at this intersection, it makes perfect 5-point stars, okay? So it was numbered that way, okay? But the third set of 9 ends up in the middle, because it's about eternal things,
Okay.
okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then this outside big circle, the placement for it is here also, okay?
Right, because it all connects.
Yes. So you have 5 cards in the middle. So the quadrant, the thing that you're putting out to the world, is your heart. That's what that represents, you know. So like, what's the energy you're putting out to everybody else? It's what's going on there. Whether you're saying it or they're just feeling it or whatever the case may be, that's what you're putting out. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then now I'm looking at what's the most important pathway, because each one of these parallel lines represents how energy flows through a person. Okay. So this pathway has 2 cards, and this pathway, okay, it represents these 3 spots. Each set of parallel lines has 3 numbers. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at both sides of that. So this right here is a 1, and this is represented by a 0. So that pathway has 2, and this pathway has 2. Okay? So, but the pathway that has the most is right here, the heart of you. So this is the story of what's going on, which comes back to all those numbers, you know. It's like interesting, right? So this is the entire story of what's going on with you. It's about you having a sure understanding of eternal law, because that leads to you being correct and complete in your soul, and you being able to attain that understanding in your soul, so that you can put it into action, so that you can reach that point. Because this is about what's right, you know. So you know, it's like we hunger and thirst for food because we need it to be alive.
Mm-hmm.
We also need truth. We're hungering and thirsting for what's right, or light, or any of those words that are connected. So this is like the story of what's going on with you right now. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Does it line up with what would you say that's accurate to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting tool. I mean, I've never found the tool to be wrong. So, for myself, I always know it's right. You know what I mean? Even if a person doesn't fully understand what's going on with them, you know. So that's how it goes. You got any thoughts about that?
No, it pretty much makes pretty much good sense as to what I'm dealing with within.
Yeah. So all of it makes an energetic change. It's not just about telling you something you know or didn't know or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the purpose of the tool, you know, the way I use them is to make a change, not just to tell somebody.
Right.
And see, so it doesn't really matter if you tell me the question or if you have a question or not. It always just picks up on the most important thing anyway. Probably your question would be wrapped around this anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, whether, you know what I mean? Because
Right.
people are always asking what's going on with their energy anyway. So, it's always all connected. So, any thoughts about all that?
No.
Okay. There you go. So, what did you think?
That was pretty cool. Much simpler to comprehend than the tarot cards, the normal
Yeah.
tarot decks with the pictures and the images that are, you know,
So,
sometimes very intimidating, even though
yeah.
they don't mean what the image shows.
Yes. It's like, so in some ways the pictures are limiting because they focus only on one aspect of what the number means and what the suit means, instead of having it more broad to be able to fit the person that it applies to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I can show you, so if you want to see how the tarot tool works, I don't know if somebody else wants to do it, or you want to do it again, or whatever.
You want to try?
Totally up to whoever wants to do what.